People who work at remote places like forest officers, oil rig workers, etc. What creepy things have you noticed while at work? I've been working forest conservation for the state of Oregon for 12 years, and you see a lot of weird stuff when you spend most of your time alone in thousands of acres of Douglas fir and cedar. Dead animals, illegal camping setups, grow operations, the occasional meth lab. It comes with the territory. But nothing prepared me for what I found in Section 47 of the Cascade National Forest last September. I was doing routine trail maintenance on the Whitewater Creek Path, about 8 miles from the nearest parking area. It's one of those trails that gets maybe 20 hikers a year because it doesn't lead anywhere particularly scenic, just deeper into old-growth forest where the trees are so thick that GPS barely works and cell service is non-existent. Around mile marker 6, I noticed something white scattered on the forest floor about 30 feet off the trail. At first I thought it might be trash. Hikers sometimes leave behind toilet paper or food wrappers despite the leave no trace principles we try to drill into everyone. But as I got closer, I realized it was feathers. A lot of feathers. 7 doves were arranged in a rough circle, each one missing its head. Clean cuts, like someone had used a sharp knife or hatchet. The bodies were fresh, maybe a day or two old, with no signs of scavenger damage. No blood on the ground around them, which meant they'd been killed somewhere else and brought here. The weird part was the species. These were ringneck doves, the kind you see in pet stores or magic shows. Completely white, domesticated birds that had no business being 8 miles deep in a Pacific Northwest forest. Wild doves in Oregon are mourning doves. Smaller, brown and gray, nothing like these. I started taking photos for my incident report when I noticed the sticks, arranged in 3 concentric circles around the dove bodies, each stick about the same length, pointing inward toward the center. Not random forest debris that had fallen naturally, but deliberately placed. Someone had taken time to select similar-sized branches and create this pattern. Then I saw the trees. 5 Douglas firs in the immediate area had been marked with red paint about 6 feet up their trunks. Not spray paint or marker, but the kind of thick glossy paint you'd use for a barn or fence. Each tree had the same symbol, a circle with lines radiating outward like a crude sun or star. I've stumbled across plenty of makeshift campsites and party spots over the years. Usually it's just beer cans, fire rings, maybe some graffiti carved into tree bark. This felt different, more organized, more intentional. Someone had hiked 8 miles carrying 7 live doves, paint, brushes, and whatever they used to kill the birds, all to create the scene in the middle of nowhere. You sent. I called my supervisor Tom from the one spot along the trail where I could get a weak signal. He told me to document everything and contact the county sheriff, which I did. Deputy Martinez hiked out the next day with a camera and evidence bags, took more photos, collected the dove bodies, and measured the stick arrangements. Could be some kind of ritual, Martinez said, examining the painted trees. We've had reports of occult activity in remote areas before, usually teenagers trying to freak people out. 8 miles is a long way to carry supplies for a prank, I pointed out. Yeah, that's what worries me. Martinez filed a report, but without any actual crime being committed. Killing doves isn't illegal, and neither is arranging sticks or painting trees on public land. There wasn't much to investigate. He promised to have patrol officers check the area more frequently, but in a forest covering hundreds of square miles, that didn't mean much. I went back to Section 47 2 weeks later to finish the trail maintenance I'd started. The dove bodies were gone, probably taken by coyotes or ravens. Someone had scattered the stick circles, either deliberately or just from wind and rain, but the painted symbols on the trees were still there, bright red against the dark bark. Over the next few months, I found 2 more sites, different locations, but the same pattern. White doves arranged in circles, surrounded by organized stick formations, trees marked with red paint symbols, always in remote areas that required serious hiking to reach. Always the same type of domesticated birds that had no business being wild in the Oregon forest. I started carrying a GPS unit to mark the exact coordinates of each site. The locations formed a rough triangle covering about 50 square miles of forest, with each point roughly 15 miles from the others. Whether that was intentional or coincidence, I have no idea. The most recent site was 3 months ago. 7 white doves again, but this time arranged in a straight line instead of a circle. The painted trees showed a different symbol, a triangle with a circle inside it. The sticks were woven together into small basket-like shapes rather than scattered in circles. Whatever's happening out there is evolving. Someone is using my forest as a canvas for something I don't understand, and they're getting more elaborate each time. I still hike those trails alone, but now I carry pepper spray and check in with Tom every few hours via radio. The painted symbols are starting to fade after months of weather, but I know exactly where each site was. Sometimes I wonder if I'm supposed to find them, if whoever's doing this knows my patrol schedule and is leaving these displays for me specifically. I haven't found any new sites in 3 months, but I keep looking.